Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be going over Antboy by Matt Feazel and Steel Dragon Press. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. This is Random Access, and this is the very newest issue which will be shipping out to Patreon subscribers shortly. It's the new creation that I've been doing. It's Morgrim, the Savage Cyclops, and it's all watercolor stuff that I've been doing. And like I said, it's a brand new story. It's got the old gods, and it's a story of it's in this. It has how he was from the very beginning, how he was born, and then it kind of flashes forward to what he's doing as an old man or as an older man, and he's trying to capture and imprison the gods because they've done him dirty, and so it goes from there. And that's the newest issue of Random Access, which you can get at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or go to my website, alexanderturbin.com, or message me at AlexTurbin04401 at Yahoo, or AlexTurbin04401 at Instagram. At AlexanderTurbin.com, there's also all of the previous Random Accesses and Mutandis and all of my fun stuff that I've done in my comic book making career, and I 100% appreciate you guys supporting that endeavor. Remember, go vote on the newest artist poll. It is the winners of the previous batch, and we'll do another 10. We'll do this, fill this page up probably, and then we'll start some new ones because I'm getting a hankering to look at some new artists and compare them. This is Mark Silvestri and Dale Keown. You can check out my page to see the poll there on Instagram and check it out and decide who you like better. Silvestri is destroying Keown, so it's going to be interesting to see this second round because you've got the winners going against the winners, so it gets a little bit more intense, which we love. So Antboy. So this is a one of them funny comic books, and as you know, I'm not really a humor kind of guy. I do have humor stuff in my collection, which is where I got some of the stuff. I did not get Antboy when it first came out. This came out in 1988, and it's actually a collection of different Antboy 1, 2, 3 pagers that they had in different books, and like it was a Captain Confederacy. So in the front page, it has all of these different things that Antboy has done, and there's different artists and different writers too, or not so much writers. I think Matt Feazel only does that, but excuse me. But you probably know Matt Feazel from Cynicalman, which he did as a backup for Zot. I haven't got any Zot, which is very unusual. So I think I'm going to pick up some Zot and do some reviewing of Zot because it's a pretty interesting book. And Understanding Comics, we'll have to go through Understanding Comics because that is a brilliant book on comic books, about comic books, a comic book about comic books, which is really fantastic. And Matt Feazel, so he was quite a well-known cartoonist in the 80s, and I'm not sure what he's been doing recently. But so it's got Antboy, and like I've been trying to do, I've been trying to just do an introduction and jump into the book, and it's now 4 minutes into it, so I'm going to stop doing my usual nonsense of some of the stuff. Hey, one of the things I am going to start doing more is, though, checking out the cover, because the covers are so important in catching the reader's eye to pick up your book in the very first place. So I have really liked this. I think the logo is a little bit too big, but I like that Matt Feazel's name is on the cover. That wasn't a normal thing back in the 80s and 90s or whatever, 70s and 80s of indie comics. Maybe indie comics, but not regular comics didn't have the names on them until late 90s or 2000s. So I like that. It's very minimalistic as far as the Steel Dragon Press has their little logo and stuff, and the number and the stuff. This is number 1. It's a nicely, it looks like it's oil painted, or either oil painted or acrylic painted. cover, and it's really kind of interesting. I do wish the logo was a little bit smaller, but other than that, I really think I like the the whole layout of it, and it's very much there's one thing in the center of the picture, and it drives it to it, and then it kind of actually you see the Antboy, and then you kind of move your eye down, so it does its job, I think. So like I said in the beginning, it has all of these different this is where they came from. The first story was a brand new one, so it had been reprinted from anywhere. So I think they wanted to have some original content as a number one, and an introduction for a lot of people that didn't really know who Antboy was. I just read this an hour or so ago, half an hour or so ago, and I had thought that it was something a lot different. I kind of thought he was going to be like a superhero and stuff. I thought it might be funny, but because it's done in a very cartoony way. And I did actually laugh at one of the parts. One of the things about humorous comics is I very generally don't laugh out loud. I can think they're very interesting and intriguing and fun and all of that cool stuff, but I very rarely laugh out loud. Hate is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, comedic comics. And I just love the way he draws. It makes me feel good. And I've probably only truly laughed out loud, only 2 or 3 times in reading the whole book. But I love it anyway. Just because I don't laugh at something doesn't mean I don't love it. One of the things that I learned at Cubert's was we had a humor class. And one of the things that he really tried to stress was because he was really teaching daily strips and daily humor, and he was like, don't try to be funny every day. It's impossible. You're not going to be able to be funny every day. Try to be slightly humorous, and then things can kind of come from there. So yeah, that was really kind of one of my worst classes, and I don't really think he taught a lot, because that was probably the only thing I gleaned from his work. I'm trying to remember the teacher's name, but I can't remember it. At some point, I might have to do a video on just talking about Joe Kuberts and all of that stuff, which you may have seen my interviews on Power Comics. I think I talked a little bit about that, and some of the stuff I've done with Joe Leonardo. I've talked about Kuberts a few times there too. But let's get into Antboy. It starts out with a farmer's. It has Antboy, and there's the picture of Antboy. And I don't know, at this point, I don't know who Antboy is. I don't know what it is. And like I said, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 small stories. 2 or 3 of them are 1-pagers, 2-pagers. So it'll go by pretty quick. And this whole thing goes by pretty quick. Story by Matt Feazel, pencils by Dave Patterson, inks by Bill Fugate. And so the farmer, there's apparently a farmer and his wife, and they called the big shot scientists because I think he saw Antboy, and he thought he was a real ant or something. And Antboy stopped his tractor because he was going to go destroy the ant farm, and that lives out back behind the farm or whatever. Because Antboy, he is a superhero, but he's a superhero for ants. Like he'll stop like intruders that go into the ant colony because he's a human, and he was raised by the ants because his parents were killed by red ants, and then a group of or a colony of black ants found him because he somehow escaped from the red ants, and then he just started living with them, and he could communicate with them somehow. So the scientist and his trusty assistant come by, and they're very intrigued by this giant ant or something, and they're very incredulous, and the farmer brings them back to to where the ant farm is. And while this is going on, Antboy says, meanwhile, back at the anthill, Antboy, scouts are reporting unusual activity at the farm. The farmhouse, huh? I'd better go check it out. So he can kind of dig and tunnel I guess that's one of his superpowers. He can dig and tunnel, even though he's just a regular person. And he digs up to the farmhouse, but they've already gone. They've gone to the back to kind of check things out, and they're at the ant hill, and they're taking some specimens. And they actually grab the queen, and they're going to do some dissection, and they're going to do some because they're a little bit bigger than regular ants, but not that much bigger. And so he's kind of incredulous as to thinking that the ants are like really that big a deal or anything like that. And he thinks kind of the farmer is making a big deal out of nothing. So it's getting late, so the farmer offers them to stay over at the farm and sleep over at night, which is kind of weird. I mean, this is a weird thing anyway, so I wouldn't take anything at face value. So Antboy gets back to the colony. The queen has been taken, who is like his mother, and a bunch of the other ants have been taken, and he's very angry. So he decides to get all of the ants together and exact revenge. And so they do a bunch of digging, and they dig under the house. And the scientist and his trusty assistant are, pleasantly living in the farmhouse or sleeping in the farmhouse, and it's nice country air. So they're really kind of enjoying themselves as the ants are digging underneath. And when they wake up, the farmhouse has been completely submerged, or it's crashing underneath the ground, and it's buried. And he wakes up, he's like, hey, this is weird. And he opens the curtains, and he notices that the whole house has been buried, and they're just flabbergasted. There's a knock on the door. It's Antboy, and he wants excuse me, he wants the queen and the rest of the ants returned ASAP. Or he's going to exact more revenge. He gets whacked by the farmer's wife, and he grabs her and says, I'm going to take her back to the ant farm, or the village, or whatever it's called, anthill, and you can have her back, and we'll swap prisoners. So then he kind of just takes off, and the scientists and the farmer, they have this little discussion as to what they're going to do, and they finally decide to follow the tunnel, because they're going to just, at first they're just going to dig themselves out, but they have to find the farmer's wife and stuff. So they go through the tunnels, the anthill tunnels, and the farmer's wife, though, back at the anthill, which is ginormous to encompass or encase or make it an occupancy of a human. She does her grandmotherly stuff, and she's like, you haven't fed the larva, and you've this place is a mess. You need to clean this up. So she gets him whipping into shape as a grandmotherly kind of person would. And but the scientists and the helper show up, and they decide to give the larva, or the ants, and the queen back to Antboy. So he says he's sorry that I destroyed your house, but everything's good as far as he's concerned. All of the ants are safe, and the grandmother is safe. And so they just go back to the house. I'm not entirely sure what happens in issue 2. Do they rebuild the house? Do they pull the house out of the ground? Or is it just there again? I don't know. One of the things about this story is his art is perfectly good. This David Patterson, because he does the pencils and the inks. No, he does the pencils, and the Bill Fugate does the inks, and it's perfectly good. I mean, it's a humorous quality. It's enjoyable. I liked it. I have no real complaints. However, Matt Feazel's art, I actually really enjoy quite a bit more. I like it. I really like the shading. I really like the ink work, and the type of shading and shadows and all of that stuff, and just the exaggeration that he's done in his figure work. I really enjoy that. So in this one, Antboy is trying to protect the ant hill, ant living quarters, ant whatever you call it, from predators. She's like shooing birds and grasshoppers and stuff. And because he's, like I said, he's the protector of the ant hill. And so a bird comes by, snatches an ant, and Antboy is like desperately trying to get that ant back. The ant Antboy can hear the ant, or maybe he just thinks he can hear the ant. Maybe he's just a little loopy. And so Antboy runs through the city chasing after the bird, and he's so terrified because the bird is obviously going to give it to its little chicklings, little birdlings, hatchlings. He makes it. It's really funny the way the writer says, scant seconds remain before an Antboy's friend is fed to the birds. Will he make it? So it's very, as you're reading it, it feels very 50s-ish, 60s-ish, like old style cartooning kind of thing. He finally does make it up to the roof, and he grabs the ant out of the bird's mouth, and he saved the day. So it's just a two-page little thingy bob, and it's it's enjoyable. It's very, like I said, it's not laugh out loud. I didn't laugh at this part or any of the parts coming up. I did laugh. I think I laughed at one part coming up, but we'll see. So, like I said, it's the 2-page thing. It's a quaint, quirky kind of little thing. The next one is an abandoned child raised by ants. Antboy is foraging for food with his trusty companions. So he's just getting grasshoppers to eat or whatever bugs he eats. And then he comes across these butterfly people that are coming to catch butterflies with their nets. And they have this little talk about the netting that they use, and he's never seen anything like that. So he goes around picking up the bugs and stuff, and they're just kind of like disgusted because it's just regular bugs, and they want butterflies. They want these beautiful butterflies. And so he continues to say, these bugs that I got were really good because they taste really good. And he starts swallowing them, and then but the butterflies taste gross, so that's why you don't want them. But they're looking for butterflies for the fun of it and because they're beautiful. So they kind of run off because they're disgusted by Antboy. So an abandoned child raised by ants. He is Antboy. So he's at the ant hill, apparently reading some comic books, and the queen comes looking for him, or is sent for him. And because I assume she stays in her little house or her little hovel and just produces more larvae or pupae or whatever they're called. And so she calls for him. He comes by, and she says, "There's not enough food because you've been such a good protector. We've our patches are what do they call it? I don't know what they call it. Anyway, the ants have grown their colony. That's it. That's the word I'm looking for. I've been looking for that word this whole thing, and I finally got it. The colony has grown so big that because he's protecting them from predators, and he helps them get food and stuff. But now that there's a drought, there isn't enough food for the ants, so there's a trouble, and so they need to get food. So he goes to the farmhouse and looking for more food because he thinks that's a good place for the ants to get some food. So he grabs it. He just starts grabbing food from the cupboards and from their table and stuff, and they're just like hornswoggled that all of this is happening. The farmer grabs some honey and pours it all over Antboy. Antboy just gets stuck on the floor, and they're going to call the exterminators. He's like, how am I going to escape? How am I going to escape? And then he remembers all of the hungry ants, so he rips himself out of the floor and out of the honey, grabs the food, and takes off, and the ants are just happy. The end. So, like I said, it's kind of a little wacky, and it's a little fun. It's just a fun little stories, I guess. And here is the origin of Antboy, and I guess we can't show that because he's a naked little kid. And he's just this is him, his first time in the ant colony, and he's declaring all of his superpowers. Like he can rip up plants. Ants can't rip up plants. He can squish caterpillars and stuff like that. Ants can't squish caterpillars. He can scare bunny rabbits. Ants can't scare bunny rabbits. So he's bragging about all of these things he can do. And the queen finally says, Antboy, you don't really have a place in our colony, and you're not really fitting in. You need to find your place. So Antboy decides that he's not really an ant, because the queen actually tells him that he's not an ant, and so he takes off to find some more humans, to find some place that he can be part of a group, part of the bigger colony. He comes across a car, and apparently there's some dead people in the car or something, and he gives them a burial, which is nice. And then he finds a house out in the woods, and he comes across some. This is what I laughed at. It's this old abandoned house that's out in the woods that is obviously some kids clubhouse or something. So he finds these comic books, and he learns how to read. But before he does that, he tastes it to see if the pulp is good, because ants eat pulp and wood and stuff like that. So he tastes it, and it's Amazing Fantasy 15, which is, of course, the first appearance of Spider-Man. So he takes a bite out of Amazing Fantasy 15, and I was just laughing. Where's that come from? He's talking about the comic book, and an old ant trick. And then some of the kids come by, and he hides underneath the bed, and they're talking, and they're like, who could it be? It could be a psycho survivalist, a Satan cultist, child kidnappers, spies, animals, alien slime monsters. And Antboy jumps from under the bed and says, no, it's just me. It's just Antboy. So he introduces himself in the next part, because this is part 2. And he's talking about how he learned English from the comic book. So he talks like a superhero, because that's how he learned how to speak English and stuff. So he just introduces himself, and they introduce themselves, and they're talking about comic books, and he's talking about how he was raised by ants and stuff. And then he says that he's a superhero, and they say, how are you a superhero? And he goes outside and he shows them by ripping up a piece of a plant, and then they all the smallest one rips up a plant, and he's like, oh, that's no big deal. He grabs a grasshopper. They've all got grasshoppers. And so he's like, oh, shucks, this stuff always used to impress the ants. And they go back inside. He sees a spider, kills ants or whatever. So he's very afraid of spiders, and he jumps up, and the girl kind of just brushes the spider away out into the forest. And so Antboy decides that he's going to use his superpowers, because he can't use them in the real world with real humans. He's going to go back to the ant colony and use his superpowers there, and protect the ants and save the ants and stuff like that. So that's his place in the ant colony. Is he's the superhero of the ants and protector of the ants. So I enjoyed this. Like I said, I only laughed a couple places. There's a part where there's a comic book that they talk about something, and I can't remember at what point it says it. It's like a very fine near mint. Oh, there it is. The shack is full of junk, including boxes of old clothes and comic books. Humans used to live here. I wonder if they used this dried firewood for pulp. And it said, find a very good condition. So that was just, I don't know, I just laughed. I thought it was funny. But it's an interesting comic. It's like I said, it's not laugh out loud. I did laugh once or twice, and I did enjoy it. I enjoyed some of the artwork is really good, and like the motion and the movement, especially these panels like this, where stuff is going on, and I do like Matt Feazel's artwork a little bit more than the other people's that worked on the stuff. And I do like how the stories are really short, and they don't really have a huge point. They're not like some kind of moral telling tale or something like that. They're just kind of these fun, quirky little things of a kid who thinks he's a superhero for ants. So it's kind of enjoyable. And I did enjoy the writing, did enjoy the art. However, would I get another one? This is where the reviewing gets hardcore. Would I go out there and look for more Antboys? No, I would not. Would I pick up more if I saw them in the dollar bin? If I saw number 2 in the dollar bin, would I get it? That's a hard question. That is a hard question. I think I would. It would be hard pressed. I'd be hard pressed. It would be like, if I have like how they have 15 for $10 or whatever. If they have the deal and I'm right at the deal, Antboy would be one of the first ones to to go into the no pile. So because you've got your S pile, you've got your no pile, you kind of arrange them in the order that you would want them. I'm assuming that you guys do that. I do that. That's how I do it. I end up picking more than I know that I can get, and then I kind of winnow it down afterwards. So I would not. I would not. That would be one of the first ones to go. I'm just not really that into it, and I don't think I'm going to get any kind of more humorous stuff out of it. So I did enjoy it, but as you know, 7 is my limit, or my barrier. If I'm gonna pick something up afterwards, then it goes over 7. If I'm not, then I can't think of any reason why it would be above a 7. I mean, below a 7. If Anyway, you know what I mean. But I did enjoy this. I enjoyed the cover. I enjoyed the writing. I enjoyed the art. So I'm not gonna knock it down below a 7. So Antboy #1, Matt Feazel from 1988. That's reprinted stuff. I assume the other stuff was from 86, or probably from 84 to 88 is when all that stuff was made. I'm guessing. I don't have any idea for real. But I did enjoy it. It's getting a 7. It's getting a solid 7. If you are into this kind of stuff, then I would definitely recommend it, and you might even find a bit more enjoyment out of it than I would. Especially if it's your kind of thing, if it's your kind of cartooning, then I would wholeheartedly recommend it, and it could be very well be higher than a 7 for you guys. If you're just into action and stuff, then I think you would not even think it's a 7. You'd probably think it's a 4 or 5 or something like that. But it hits a sweet spot for me where I liked all of the writing and the art and stuff, but it's the genre is just not for me, and it didn't break through. It didn't break through the genre. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel and you just happen to stumble by and you saw some Antboy, this is the kind of stuff I review. It's indie comics from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and it's just really any kind of unusual stuff that I catches my eye or pick up or I've had for a while or whatever. If you guys are into Antboy, let me know. If you're new, hit the subscription button and the notification bell and all that cool stuff. But more importantly than that, like I always said, I always love talking to you guys about comic books. So please leave a comment. If you love Antboy, let me know. I'd love to talk about it. And if you hate Antboy, let me know that too. I'd really love to hear about your comments and what you guys think. So anyway, thanks for watching. It's a Monday, so we got a great cast of comic books to look at, and we've got the polls to look forward to. So go check out that poll and cast your vote, and let me know what you guys think. And thank you so much for watching. I really truly appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys next time. And always keep on creating.